Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Friday, and as we told you earlier, all of our guests today brought to you by our friends at the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Those guests include Shane Malloy, standing by on this NHL Draft Day, day number 1. Looking for a midweek escape close to home? BC residents save 15% on weekday stays at the Bayside Oceanfront Resort in Parksville. Relax by the ocean, enjoy great dining, and unwind with island hospitality. Book now at Bayside.ResortParksville.com. NHL Entry Draft goes today, 4 o'clock our time at the Peacock Theater down in Los Angeles. Islanders with the number 1 pick. Canucks will pick, or at least they're scheduled to pick, 15th. Joining us now from Hockey Prospects Radio on Sirius XM, Shane Malloy. Shane, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you? Is this the greatest day of the year for you?
This is Christmas time, gentlemen. Yeah. Great to see you guys again. It's I'm at the fabulous JW Marriott across the street from the Peacock Theater, and we're going to get things rolling. And, let's see, we've got 7 hours to go. So, can't wait.
Any doubt Matthew Schaefer is going to be picked number 1 by the Islanders, and any doubt he'll have success at the NHL level?
I have no doubt on either. I think at the end of the day, we can quibble over best player available. I find it a bit of a nebulous term. But if you're going to put a defenseman versus a center, say it's Michael Misa, if you look at the value of defensemen across the board in the NHL, it's so rare to find a player that can potentially be a number 1 defenseman. You take him and you say thank you and you run with it hopefully for 15 years. He's that good of a player.
Canucks, Shane, at number 15. Again, we're not sure what they're going to do with the pick, but they're scheduled to pick 15th. Everybody in Canuck land, Canuck Nation, knows that they're in bad need of a young center. So Cole Rashny, Braden Coots, Jack Nesbitt, the kid from Coquitlam, Ben Kindle. What do you think? Which name sticks out there? Of the players, of the centers that would likely be available at 15?
For the centers, I would, end of the day, Brendan Coots. The reason is has that dog on the bone mentality. He has the capability defensively to match up. And so much of what I like to discuss is the B game of player. We can always talk about the A game and their offensive abilities, but in the playoffs, on the road, you have to be able to match up 5-on-5. You look at even at the top end players and you look at how much ice time they have, how much they actually have the puck on their stick. It might be 5%. 95% of the time, you might not have the puck on your stick. So what are you doing to help your team win? And I think that's really important to consider when you're watching prospects. So Braden Coots, he could be kill penalties, power play, matchup defensively. I think he's a guy that could end up being a number 2, at worst a number 3 center. Could end up being elite number 3. But in this draft class at 15, that's what you're looking at, because all the top-end centers are going to be gone. And that's not disparaging against Braden Coots, because I'd have him on my team any day of the week. So for me, he's the number 1. Nesbitt's a really consideration too, because he's a big, strong kid. He's going to have to improve his skating. That's going to have to, his pace is going to have to increase, but he's 6'4", and he's a load, and he's going to play a playoff style, and it can really insulate a more skilled center. So either one of them would be formidable, and I think they'd be really good picks for the Canucks.
We've been negligent. We haven't talked a lot about Ben Kindle of the Calgary Hitmen. He's from Coquitlam. Both his parents played soccer for the Whitecaps organization. What can you tell us about him? Not the biggest kid in the world.
No, exceptionally skilled. It's funny. I'm glad you brought it up, because he has that soccer in his game. So he has that athleticism to kick the puck up and actually use it as well as a stick. So highly intelligent, high-level hockey sense, high-level puck skills. He's not the biggest player. I think in the end of the day, he's probably a winger more than a center. So I think that may move him down the rankings a little bit. He might be more effective on the wall, just using his speed. But anytime you put up that kind of gaudy numbers in the Western Hockey League, you have to take notice. And I have him high on my list. I have him at like 17. So for me, I don't discount his skill set. It's also the size is the only factor, and he's highly competitive, so he overcomes some of that. But I would put him below the other two only because I think he's going to be better off as a winger.
Shane, it's a heavy center. draft in the top 10, we could see 5 or 6 centers go. Matthew Schaefer should obviously go number 1. Where's the drop-off? We always hear about a drop-off in elite talent in the first round. Where's the drop-off this year?
For elite, I would be probably looking at after 9.
Yeah.
9, 10.
Yeah.
And then it starts to drop off into the second pairing defenseman, number 2 centers. And then after 18, it drops again into number 4 defenseman, number three centerman, third line wingers. It drops off pretty quickly. It's not a lack of quality for this draft class. It's a lack of quantity, I think. Now, over time, I could be proved wrong, but on a historical aspect, average is 59 players will play 200 games or more. And this draft class, I was sort of projecting in the 50 range, 50. So it's about 9 short of average. But in 5 or 6 years, those players could supersede that, and it could end up being back to average again. But in terms of quality, I don't think it's any really different than any other draft, except for obviously 2015, which is the exception.
Where is Vancouver Giant Cameron Schmidt going? He's 5 feet 8 inches, Shane. We know guys like that drop in the draft. Scouts love size, but where do you see him going?
Probably 3rd round.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe late 2nd, but 3rd. Well, the problem is, look, and I'm a proponent of this as well, is size matters in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Look, I think sometimes what happens, we get mesmerized by the sexy skill, and then we go watch the playoffs again, and we go, oh, that's what you need to do to win. And I'm not saying the kid's not competitive enough, but I'm concerned about there's the A game of a player. He's a great goal scorer, and he can, create offense at will. But if you don't have a B game, if that's not working for you, what else are you doing to help your team win? Yeah. So much of what I talk about is the B game, and he doesn't have size, so he can't bring that. So he has to be able to build out a B game. Actually, a good example of that is Connor Garland. Yeah. When he was in Moncton, the Q, he did not have a B game to speak of. But to his credit, he built out this really strong 5-on-5 off puck game. Yeah. That I think he's one of the strongest 5-on-5 players that's small in the league. So if he could emulate that will change his value long term.
One player you see that will fall, one player you see that's going to move up.
Move up will probably be Brady Martin because he's the Honey Badger.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. Tough as nails. He's a kid he's a culture changer for your organization. I think he'll move up. I would not be shocked. He's in top 10, no problem. Somebody's going to take a hold of him. He might go as high as 6.
Wow.
And then fall is going to be the smaller skill players that people really like, but teams will look at and go, well, the size concerns me. The only reason why I say, and those guys may end up falling to the end of the first, is because there's a lot of teams with multiple picks this year. It's actually a little crazy. Yeah. So that's where you can mitigate your draft and pick up, I don't want to say safer picks, but better probability of the player being a really impact player, and then take some swings and risks at the end of the first round.
Okay, we've talked about the Vancouver Giants and Cameron Schmidt. We talked about the city of Coquitlam. Shane, our bosses are located in Victoria, so we have to ask you about, I know he's headed to North Dakota, but Cole Rashny of the Victoria Royals, where do you have him?
I have him in the 20 range. Oh, okay. And again, because he's a centerman, he'll be somewhere between 15 and 20. And he's not the biggest guy in terms of height, but he's built like a fire hydrant. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's going to be impossible to knock over. But he plays a really well-rounded game. He's more of a passer than a shooter, but I think he has the capability of playing off the puck and playing with some grease and some grind. He's only 5'10". Hopefully he gets 5'11". Hope he gets a little bit taller. But at the end of the day, I think he makes it up for that. He's not the most fleet of foot, but that's going to improve as well. You don't have to be a fast skater to be highly effective. Look at Tyler Toffoli. Look at Mark Stone. They're not fast skaters at all, but they understand how to skate the game because they're smart. And I think Cole Rashny could do that for you. I have a lot of time for him. That's why I have him. Any player that I have in my top 32, I have a lot of time for. And I projected 50 players to play more than 200 games. So he's certainly, if I'm in that range, I seriously consider him because he's a centerman and he's going to be, and they're valuable. Even if he plays as a third-line center, he could end up being an elite third-line center.
Shane, with Cole Rashny in mind, we talk about him going to North Dakota. What effect do you think the NCAA's decision to allow CHL players to play American college hockey. What effect do you think that's going to have on development?
I think it's the best thing that's happened to hockey in development ever, honestly.
Really?
Why?
One of the things we have missed, I think, comparative to baseball is baseball has single A, double A, triple A. We didn't have that in hockey. So what this is, the CHL and the USHL are the same age group. On average, they're 18-and-a-half-year-old players. College hockey on average is 21-and-a-half. So junior hockey can be the single A. And then college in the United States can be the double A, and the American League is your triple A, and then you go. I do not like having 20-year-olds go into the American Hockey League. For the most part, even if you're a high draft pick, like in the second round or late first, they just get chewed up because they're all of a sudden they go from playing against boys at 18.5 years of age to these hardened men who don't care that they're first-round picks or second-round picks, and they get chewed apart. It's just a big, big jump. And so if you can have a place to go and play against young men that are like 21, 22, 23, it just gives you that stepping stone. Bigger, stronger, faster, more structured game because they have to at the college level. So I think it's one of the best things that's happened to player development in the 26 years that I've been covering the draft.
There's not a lot of people, would you agree with this, that share your opinion?
Yeah, you think the Western Hockey League's happy that they draft these kids second, third overall and have them walk at 17? Come on, Shane.
Well, I mean, they shouldn't walk at 17 because they're like.
Well, they are.
It's rare as an 18-year-old to come in and be a freshman and not get pounded. It's really hard. Like most freshmen should be 19.
Yeah.
So this is where I think a lot of what's going to happen with the CHL, because it'll emulate what happens in the USHL, and they've survived, is that you'll have 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and the top kids that are like turning 19, they'll jump to college. So the CHL will augment it to be primarily a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old league, and then the 20s that are there are the ones that couldn't get a Div 1 scholarship. But I think they'll adjust.
Yeah.
The USHL has done it, and they've survived, and they've been doing it for decades, so I don't see how the CHL can't pull it off. It's just a shock to the system because it happened pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
And I know I was told when I first started reporting this over a year and a half ago, you're crazy, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And then 8 months later, it happened because we've seen it coming down the tracks. So it's just... We've had it this way in the CHL for a long time. Like, I'm a Canadian guy. I grew up around CHL teams. You know, we had to evolve and adapt, and they will. And it'll be fine. They'll be fine. I think they're panicking a little bit only because they don't know what the next steps are. And actually, almost none of us know what the next steps are.
The NHL draft, it's not quite the NBA draft or the NFL draft, but the players get dressed up pretty snazzy. What are you wearing tonight?
Oh, yeah.
What are you wearing tonight?
It's in the Peacock Theater. Normally I wear a suit, but I think I'm going to just wear like a shirt because it's a little bit warm in there.
There you go.
So plus I'm riding shotgun with Steve Coolius, and I don't know if you ever met Coolius, but that guy's about as high energy as you're gonna get.
He is.
So like you sweat just standing right next to him. You don't even have to move, right? So basically he's a tornado, and I hang on for dear life, and he's fantastic to work with. Yeah. One of the funnest people you could ever meet.
We'll look for the two of you. Shane, again, Merry Christmas. Have a great draft day. Thanks for this.
Anytime. Great talk to you guys again, gentlemen. Take care.
Bet.